I made a mistake. Uh, this is quite humbling because clearly I was overconfident about this whole thing, which is good. It was a good attitude to have, but things changed in my life. So, on week 7, on this process of quitting citalopram, my girlfriend at the time broke up with me, and yeah, things were not going well anyway, and that was the first mistake I made. I chose this moment of my life to quit the medication, first of all, because I had been on it for far too long. I wasn't depressed anymore. I felt stable psychologically, and I was in a calm period of my life where I had more free time and less stress. And I wanted to think my relationship was stable, where it clearly wasn't. So I guess the lesson here is that if you're going to make this, if you're going to quit your medication, make sure that everything in your life is stable, professionally, personally, etc. I know that you cannot predict everything always. You know, life has its moments, and if you're on the process of quitting a medication, it's normal that something happens in the meantime. But if something significant like this happens in the meantime, just don't lower the dose yet and take it really, really, really slow and see how to cope with it. Don't rush it, really. Really don't rush it. My problem here was not weeks 10 to 16, because these weeks were kind of fine. I was able to do a normal grieving process considering the situation, but my problem was mostly the something that I didn't even know that could happen, which was the post-withdrawal effects that came afterwards. But I'll do another video about it whenever I have the courage to do so. For now, on weeks 10 to 16, my therapist at first advised me to not lower the dose and see how I would cope with it. And I was really upset, actually, that the breakup occurred at this moment of my life. So I just went on an intense program of every meditation I could find, positive affirmations, exercise, rest, journaling, etc. And it worked at the time. It really helped me stabilize and feel confident about this thing. But the thing is, this all became a mess because I can no longer distinguish between what was the psychological symptoms of coming off SSRIs or the breakup. The physical symptoms, on the other hand, I can. On week 8, my irritability subsided. On week 7, I couldn't even stand going inside a metro station. People would annoy me to that point. But on week 8, the irritability subsided, and also I started sleeping well again. I had a mild insomnia in the breakup during the first week of the breakup, but then that subsided, and I also felt like I could increase my workouts. So my physical state was better. I slowly increased my workouts, and I even started training for a half marathon, which gave me sort of a new goal, and also made my serotonin levels quite more balanced. And that was really, really good for me at the time. Slowly, I mean, don't rush it really. Again, if you feel like you cannot do intense physical exercise, don't do it. I really listened to my body at this point, and I felt like that was the right moment to start training, to start feeling better about myself. The weather was nice as well, so that was also something that made me feel good and recalibrated my serotonin levels, which were, of course, being a bit fucked up by this whole process of coming off antidepressants. At the end of week 9, I was tired of not advancing in my progress, so I lowered the dose again. This was again a mistake. Basically, if you have anything important going on, stop the process. If I could go back, that's what I would do, because you might feel fine at the moment, and I really felt fine, but that's not how SSRIs work. It's not like I feel fine for a week, therefore I'm fine. Your brain takes time to adjust and to notice that something is missing. And so remember that also it took a couple of months for it to start working. I think normally takes a couple of weeks to a couple of months for escitalopram to start working. in the same way, it takes a couple of weeks to a couple of months for your brain to notice that it doesn't have the drug anymore in the system. I noticed because I felt fine at this moment, but then a month later, a month after I took my last pill, I had those post-withdrawal symptoms that, it was, no one told me about this, and I will definitely talk about this in the future. Basically, on week 10, the physical symptoms slowly disappeared. The body aches, the stomach problems, everything disappeared on week 10. The only thing that remained were the brain zaps, but they started to become less frequent and less intense. They just transformed into a feeling that I had where kind of like I felt my heart beat in my temples. It was a bit strange again, but very gentle, and it wouldn't flow down the rest of my body like it used to. And about 3 weeks after, without the drug, these symptoms were no longer there. When I took my last pill, I was really proud of myself. I still think it's a good thing that I went off this medication. And in total, it took me 4 months to come off it. This was 4 times what my doctor prescribed. And speaking about mistakes that I made, this is definitely another one. So, go to a psychiatrist. I went to a general doctor and she gave me a 1-month plan, and it was a wrong plan because I went to a psychiatrist recently and she told me that this process that I did, this method that I used about doing 1 day on, 1 day off, and 1 day 5 milligrams, 1 day 10 milligrams was wrong. I should have done it in a more linear way, like for example, 7 for a couple of weeks, and then 5, and then 2, but it's too fucking late for that now, but that's how I should have done it. Also, added to that, it always depends on the dose you're taking and how long you've been taking it. So if you've been taking it for 3 years, don't do it in a month, definitely. Do it really, really slow. As I said before, good mental health depends on a conjugation of factors, and it's a process that takes time to achieve and must be maintained throughout every day of our lives. It's also not a linear process, so some days you might feel good, sometimes you might sleep like shit, or you might drink too much, and then you will feel horrible the next day. And in those cases, just be gentle with yourself, do what's right for you, be really patient. It's a good thing coming off the drug. I still think it's a good thing. I don't feel like people should stay on this medication for too long. And even if I say I rushed it, I'm still really proud that I came off it and I'm free of it now. Make sure also you have a good support network around you. Tell your friends, tell your family that you're doing this. If you don't have many friends, there's always support networks, there's always communities online, but also, if you're religious, in churches or therapy or other support groups, don't stay at home alone doing this, because taking and going off antidepressants is a serious thing, and it can be a lonely road, and you need all the support you can get right now. I hope this helps. I hope I'm still able to help people with this, even though it was kind of messy and it didn't work out as I planned. My experience is still here, and I will do a follow-up on this to talk about the post-withdrawal effects and how I'm dealing with it, because I'm still dealing with it right now. So, happy healings.